everyone. Thank you for coming to our press conference. As he said, we are from Whistleblower Aid, which is a nonprofit legal organization whose mission is to support holistically public interest whistleblowers. So the distinction between a public interest whistleblower and a for-profit whistleblower is people who are driven by their conscience. They have been forced or pressured to keep secrets that present dangers or concerns to them for the public. And so we exist to help them make the positive social impact that is driving them and to empower them in the process. So we're here today because this morning the NBC News reported on a new case of ours involving a whistleblower from Airbnb. So what I'm going to do is give you a narrative overview, talk about a little bit about why it matters and what our call to action is. So our client, Jess Hernandez, has been researching extremism professionally for the last 6 years. This is her area of expertise. You may or may not remember that Airbnb very prominently removed extremists associated with the Charlottesville Unite the Right March. And then, following January 6th, they were very quick to remove accounts associated with the instigators, the insurrectionists that stormed the Capitol. So Jess was so excited to join the dangerous organizations team at Airbnb. Here was a company that cared about safety. They didn't want their guests to walk into homes of people who espoused hate, and they didn't want people to be housing violent extremists in their homes. So she got to bring all of her research expertise to a company that seemed to really care about the dangers that existed and was committed to standing up for them. So when she joined in May of 2022, it was her dream job. She was part of a 4-person team that was responsible for researching and removing individuals associated with terrorists, violent extremists, hate groups, and organized crime. The people were not being removed because of their beliefs, but rather for the violence that they were espousing and perpetuating. Her team would conduct extensive research, compile all the evidence, and they wanted to make sure that nobody was removed for unjust cause, and to make sure that their removals were in line with the latest development in the extremism space, which is constantly moving. So, in early 2023, you may or may not remember, in Brazil, they had their own version of the January 6th insurrection. There were violent protesters that tried to stop the peaceful transfer of power. So the dangerous operations team went to work, right? They reached out to civil society. They used the same analysis and research plan they had for January 6th, and they prepared to protect their Brazilian community as they were protecting the American one. Airbnb leadership intervened and stopped them from doing anything about the violent extremists in Brazil. Next, not long after, they removed the account of the parents of Lauren Southern. Lauren Southern is a well-known speaker at neo-Nazi rallies, and her parents qualified under Airbnb's policy for connected accounts. You can imagine, if you have been using Airbnb to rent out spaces so you can do these rallying calls, put together militias, you can get your friends or family to circumvent the ban by using their credit card and getting you in. So at Airbnb, there was a connected account policy, which meant that people who were sharing a credit card with the banned person couldn't stay on the platform and were around it. Unfortunately, her parents did not appreciate getting deplatformed, and they went on Tucker Carlson, and basically Tucker Carlson lost his mind. Airbnb leadership panicked. They quickly capitulated and reinstated those accounts. That was the beginning of the end. Leadership not only reversed the decision for the removal, they paused all of the dangerous organizations team work altogether. After the Lawrence Southern reversal, they were no longer allowed to remove any accounts, and most of their research slowed to a crawl. They implemented new processes for recommendations and escalations with lots of levels of bureaucracy, which really meant that any recommendations they had for people that needed to be deplatformed went unheeded. So our client can count on one hand the number of accounts her work helped remove from the platform in the last 10 months of her time at Airbnb, out of a community of 150 million members. This is a stark contrast to the efficacy of her work in 2022, where they were averaging about 15 deplatforms a month. So to give you an example, at one point, the director of Global Trust asked why they were even removing Proud Boy accounts, when I think everybody knows that the group is at the center of dozens of January 6th arrests for sedition and have a history of violent incidents all around the United States. In short, the dangerous organizations team's autonomy was gone, their mandate was undermined, and the policy, which still exists on their website and which Airbnb leadership touts all the time in their marketing, ceased to meaningfully exist in practice. So, following the October 7th attack on Israel, the dangerous organizations team raised the issue of removing accounts affiliated with the Hamas terrorist organization. Leadership showed no interest, and to her knowledge, no action was ever taken to remove Hamas or members of Hamas violent extremism from the platform. When the dangerous organizations team lead left the team, the leadership from Airbnb came and told them that job was not going to be backfilled. So it was clear that the days of keeping Airbnb users safe from violent extremists was numbered. Last November, just days before her termination, our client's manager told her and her team that leadership had decided to reinstate all of the deplatformed accounts of January 6th rioters. It was the final betrayal of their values and the total undoing of all their work. They tried to voice their objections, and they were told in no uncertain terms that anybody who disagrees with that decision does not need to work at Airbnb. It was utterly chilling. So why does this matter to us? Because Airbnb is deceiving customers and shareholders with a policy that is still prominently displayed on the site and touted by leadership as something that sets Airbnb above its competitors. This has not been true for a year and a half. The abandoning of the policy is dangerous and beyond disappointing. It's the duplicity that's likely illegal. Staying in a stranger's home is one of the most vulnerable positions a person can be in. Probably some of you are staying in Airbnbs right now. Knowing your host is not a terrorist, a violent extremist, a member of the KKK or the mafia should be the bare minimum, but it no longer is at Airbnb. Our client, like so many whistleblowers, never thought she would become one. She didn't want to become a whistleblower, but after 10 months of speaking out for her team and their mission and the safety of the Airbnb community, she felt she had a duty to inform. She's doing this now because she has to, not because she wants to. Her job was to keep people safe there, and her values dictate that whether she's in the company or outside the company, she's going to try to keep that mandate. She hopes that this will be a wake-up call, not just for Airbnb, but for the whole sector. We are in a sharing economy. We are put into the homes of and care of strangers. And as a society, we need to be committed to keeping each other safe. So this is a call to action. Airbnb, reinstate your policy. keep your users safe and stop deceiving your community. Government regulators and lawmakers investigate these deceptive practices at Airbnb and hold them accountable. And to everybody in the shared gig economy, meet the moment, okay? We have a trend of violent extremism in our country and around the world. Keep your users safe. Put in place appropriate policies, resources, and robustly implement them. Do not cave to political or media pressure. Just do the right thing. So that's my summary of the case. You can read the story in NBC, and I'm going to turn it over to Naomi, who is our Chief Strategy Officer, to add anything that she would, and then we'll open it up to questions.
I don't have anything to add, but we're happy to open it up to questions.
If there are any questions at this time, please raise your hand and I will pass the mic to you.
I mean, the one thing I will say is that our whistleblower had literally nothing to gain and everything to lose. So not only was she terminated for speaking up and saying we need to do the right thing here, she's now being told that she wasn't truthful by the company. And unfortunately for them, we have the facts. And so we hope they figure out how to do the right thing, to say publicly and have on your website a practice that you're doing something to keep people safe, and to not do it is malfeasance. And it's scary in today's day and age. So I do hope that they take this as a wake-up call and do the right thing.